Yo, what's up, ChronoCrew? It's your boy Chronos back at it with a brand new What If that's about to blow your mind. What if Deku was reincarnated with all his memories? You heard that right. Imagine Deku coming back, but with full knowledge of everything, from one for all to all for one. You already know we're going all in with insane power-ups, epic fights, and those anime-inspired moments that'll leave you speechless. Let's smash that 100-like goal if you want part 2 to drop even crazier. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you don't miss a second of this journey. And hey, thank you all for the insane support lately. The Chrono Crew is built different, and I couldn't do this without you. Now buckle up, because Deku's second life is just beginning. The night sky was painted crimson as buildings crumbled around him. Izuka Midoriya stood atop a destroyed skyscraper, his hero costume torn to shreds, blood streaming down his face. Before him lay the defeated form of All for One, the greatest villain the world had ever known. But at what cost? We did it, Izuka whispered, falling to his knees. His body was broken, countless bones shattered, organs failing. The familiar green lightning of One for All flickered around him like a dying flame. The battlefield was littered with the bodies of fallen heroes. Uraraka had sacrificed herself to save civilians from a collapsing building. Todoroki lay in a hospital bed, his quirk permanently damaged. Ida would never walk again. Bakugo. Izuku's eyes welled with tears as he remembered his rival's final moments, pushing him out of the way of All for One's deadly attack. All Might. Izuku coughed blood as he turned to his mentor, who barely clung to life a few feet away. Young Midoriya, you've done it. You've become the greatest hero. All Might wheezed, his skeletal form even more frail than before. Izuku's vision began to blur as the last of his strength faded. If only I had been stronger sooner. If I had met you earlier, trained harder, believed in myself. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Maybe everyone would still be alive. The world grew dark around him. I'm sorry, everyone. I couldn't save you all. Darkness, then light. Izuku's eyes snapped open. He was staring at a familiar ceiling. His body felt small, weak. No pain, no blood, no broken bones. What? He sat up abruptly, looking down at his hands. They were tiny. A child's hands. Where am I? Is this a dream? Izuku, breakfast is ready. A voice called from another room, a voice he thought he'd never hear again. Mom? Izuku's heart raced as he scrambled out of bed, nearly tripping over All Might action figures scattered across the floor. He rushed to the mirror on his wall and gasped. Staring back at him was his own face, but not the face of the 20-year-old hero who had defeated All for One. This was the face of a quirkless, middle school boy. I'm back. I'm actually back in the past. His mind raced with the implications. Everything, the entrance exam, the training at UA, the battles, the deaths, none of it had happened yet. Which meant, I can change it, he whispered, clenching his small fists. I can save everyone this time. In the months that followed, Izuka devoted himself to training with a ferocity that surprised even himself. Every morning, he woke before dawn to run. Every evening, he did strength training until his muscles screamed. His mother was concerned at first, but seeing the determination in his eyes, she supported him. I need to be ready for One for All this time, Izuku thought as he completed his 100th push-up. No more broken bones. No more wasted time. His classmates noticed the change in him too. The once timid, bullied Deku still didn't talk back to Bakugo, but there was something different in his eyes now, a quiet confidence, a knowledge beyond his years. Months passed. Izuka's body transformed. Where once there was only scrawny limbs, now compact muscle took shape. He studied hero tactics obsessively, knowing exactly what challenges lay ahead. Then came that fateful day under the bridge. Izuku felt a chill of déjà vu as the sludge villain emerged from the manhole behind him. This is it, the day everything started. A medium-sized invisibility cloak, the sludge villain gurgled, lunging toward Izuku. This time, Izuku was prepared. He dodged the initial attack with practiced ease, though he was careful not to seem too skilled. All Might will be here any second. I need to play this right. As if on cue, a booming laugh echoed through the underpass. Have no fear, for I am here. Izuku's heart swelled at the sight of All Might, healthy, powerful, the symbol of peace in his prime. It took everything in him not to break down in tears. After the rescue, Izuku clung to All Might's leg just as he had before, though this time his grip was much stronger. Hey now, let go, kid. All Might shouted as they soared through the air. Once they landed on a rooftop, Izuku faced All Might with a determined gaze. Can someone without a quirk become a hero like you? The familiar question hung in the air, but this time Izuku knew what would happen next. He watched as All Might's time limit expired, revealing his true form. Young man, I think you should consider being a police officer. All Might said, just as he had before. It's a fine profession but then the explosion sounded in the distance. The sludge villain had escaped. Bakugo was in danger. Without hesitation, Izuku ran toward the scene, his mind racing. I have to do this exactly the same. This is what made All Might choose me. The crowd of onlookers, the professional heroes standing back, the sight of Bakugo struggling within the sludge, it was all the same. And just like before, Izuku's body moved on its own. Kakin, he shouted, throwing his backpack at the villain's eye, buying precious seconds as he clawed at the sludge. I know you're going to call me an idiot later, Kakin, but I won't let you die. Not in this timeline. All Might's rescue, the scolding from the pro-heroes, Bakugo's angry confusion, everything played out as it had before. But when All Might found Izuku afterward, the boy was ready. I deem you worthy of my power, All Might declared. Izuku bowed deeply, hiding the tears in his eyes. I accept. At Dagoba Municipal Beach, All Might was shocked to discover Izuku's physical condition. Young Midoriya, your body. It's already quite developed for someone your age. Izuku scratched his head sheepishly. I've been training on my own for a while now. I always hoped that maybe, even without a quirk. All Might laughed heartily. Well, this makes things easier. My original plan was to have you clean this entire beach as training, but you're already well on your way to becoming a suitable vessel. That's right. One for All is more than just a quirk, it's a torch passed from generation to generation. I won't let you down, All Might, Izuku said, his voice heavy with meaning the hero couldn't possibly understand. Within just a month, Izuku had proven himself ready. Standing amidst the cleared beach at sunrise, he accepted the strand of hair from All Might. Eat this, All Might said, holding out the hair. Izuku took it without hesitation, remembering the strange sensation from his first time. As the power flowed into him, he immediately focused on the feeling, on containing it throughout his body rather than letting it explode from a single point. Full cowling. From the beginning this time, in the remaining months before the UA entrance exam, Izuku trained with All Might, carefully concealing how quickly he'd mastered One for All. He could already maintain 20% of full cowling without injury, a feat that had taken him years in his previous life. Young Midoriya, your progress is remarkable, All Might exclaimed during one training session. It's as if you already understand this quirk inside and out. Izuku smiled sadly. I just want to become a hero who can save everyone I couldn't save before. The day of the entrance exam arrived, bringing with it a flood of memories. As Izuku walked through the gates of UA, he spotted familiar faces: Uraraka, alive and well, Ida, his engines functioning perfectly, classmates who would become friends, rivals, and comrades. I won't fail you this time. The written exam was trivial. Izuku had already learned all this material and more. When Present Mike explained the rules of the practical exam, Izuku remained silent, not drawing attention to himself as Ida questioned the zero-pointer. When the gates opened, Izuku activated full cowling at 20%. Green lightning crackled around his body as he shot forward with speed that left other examinees gaping. Did you see that guy? What kind of quirk is that? So fast! Izuku tore through robot after robot, his movements precise and efficient. Each destroyed machine added to his point total. His muscles remembered techniques his current body had never performed. Techniques honed through years of hero work and desperate battles. 200 points already, he thought, checking his mental tally. But points aren't what matter most here. He changed direction, seeking out examinees in trouble. He helped a girl with vines for hair escape a three-pointer. He saved a boy with a tail from being crushed by debris. Each rescue was calculated, each action deliberate. Then came the zero-pointer, the massive robot that towered over buildings. And just as before, trapped beneath rubble was Uraraka. Uraraka! Images flashed through Izuku's mind, her smile, her determination, her final moments saving civilians while buildings collapsed around her. Not this time, he growled, pushing full cowling to its limit. He launched himself toward the zero-pointer, focusing 50% of One for All into his arm, the maximum his current body could handle without severe injury. SMASH! He roared, his fist connecting with the robot's face. The impact sent shockwaves through the air, knocking several examinees off their feet. The zero-pointer crumbled, but unlike his first timeline, Izuku maintained control of his descent, landing with only minor damage to his arm. He immediately rushed to Uraraka, lifting the debris with his good arm. Are you okay? He asked, helping her to her feet. You saved me, she said, her eyes wide. That was amazing. Your quirk is so powerful. Izuku smiled, remembering their first meeting. I couldn't just leave you there. A week later, the acceptance letter arrived. All Might's projection announced that Izuku had not only passed but had placed first in the entrance exam with an unprecedented score. 200 villain points and 90 rescue points. Inko hugged her son, tears streaming down her face. I'm so proud of you, Izuku. That night, alone in his room, Izuku stared at the acceptance letter, his expression grave. This is just the beginning, he whispered. I know what's coming. The League of Villains. All for one. The traitor at UA. He clenched his fist, green lightning dancing between his fingers. I'll change everything. No one dies this time. He looked up at the poster of All Might on his wall. I promise. The morning of Izuku's first day at UA arrived with a sense of surreal familiarity. As he adjusted his uniform in the mirror, memories of both timelines overlapped in his mind, the nervous, quirkless boy he once was and the broken hero he had become. I look just like I did before, he murmured, studying his reflection. But everything is different now. Inko fussed over him at the door, tears already forming in her eyes. Izuku, I'm so proud of you. You've worked so hard for this. Izuku hugged his mother tightly. In his previous life, he'd lost her during a villain attack on civilian shelters. The feeling of her in his arms, alive and well, made his throat tight with emotion. I love you, Mom, he said, his voice steady despite the storm of feelings inside him. I'll make you proud. I promise. The walk to UA was filled with anticipation. As Izuku approached the massive gates, he took a deep breath. Everyone is alive. My friends, my classmates, they don't know what's coming. But I do. Finding Class 1A was no challenge this time. Izuku slid the door open, immediately greeted by the sight of familiar faces engaged in pre-class conversation. Kirishima's bright red hair, Yaoyorozu's perfect posture, Todoroki sitting alone in the corner, they were all there, untouched by the tragedies that had befallen them in Izuku's previous life. And there was Bakugo, feet up on his desk, scowling as Ida lectured him about respect for school property. You're the one who tried to kill that sludge villain by yourself, aren't you? Ida turned as Izuku entered. Your performance in the entrance exam was remarkable. I am Tenya Ida from Somei Junior High, right? Izuku smiled, extending his hand. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet you. Ida blinked in surprise. Yes, that's correct. How did you? Bakugo's harsh voice cut through their conversation. How the hell did you get into UA? What was that power at the entrance exam? You've been lying to me all these years, haven't you? Izuku met Bakugo's glare without flinching. In his previous life, it had taken years for them to develop a mutual respect. This time, things would be different. I wasn't lying, Kaken. My quirk manifested late. Very late. He kept his voice even confident. And I'm here because I passed the exam. Just like you. Before Bakugo could respond, a soft voice interrupted them. Oh, it's you. The boy who saved me during the exam. Izuku turned to see Uraraka, her round face beaming with recognition. The sight of her, healthy, uninjured, alive, made his heart clench. I'm Achiko Uraraka, she said, bouncing slightly on her heels. Your punch was amazing. You went boom and the robot went crash and If you're here to make friends, you should leave now. The dry, exhausted voice came from the floor. Izuku suppressed a smile as the familiar yellow sleeping bag containing Aizawa shifted near their feet. Some things never change. Aizawa Shoyuta unzipped his sleeping bag and stood up, his bloodshot eyes surveying the class with disinterest. It took you all 8 seconds to quiet down. Time is a precious resource. You're not very rational, are you? The class stared in confusion at their disheveled teacher. I'm your homeroom teacher, Shoyuta Aizawa. Pleasure meeting you. He pulled out blue gym uniforms from his sleeping bag. Put these on and meet me at the PE grounds. Immediately, as the class changed into their gym clothes, whispers of confusion spread among them. A test on the first day? What about the entrance ceremony? Is this normal at UA? Izuku remained silent, preparing himself mentally. The quirk apprehension test. Aizawa threatened to expel the lowest scoring student last time. He was bluffing, but still. At the PE grounds, Aizawa's announcement about the quirk apprehension test sent a wave of anxiety through the class, except for Izuku, who stood calmly at the front. Midoriya, Aizawa called out, his tired eyes narrowing slightly. You placed first in the entrance exam with an unprecedented score. Supposedly, you destroyed a 0-pointer with a single punch. Izuku nodded, maintaining eye contact with the pro hero. Interesting, Aizawa continued. What was your ball throw record in middle school? 46 meters, sir, Izuku replied honestly. Aizawa tossed him a softball. Try using your quirk this time. Anything goes. Just stay in the circle. His eyes narrowed further. And don't hold back. I know when students aren't giving their all. He suspects something, Izuku realized. He can sense that I'm different. Taking his position in the circle, Izuku activated full cowling at 20%, green lightning dancing across his skin. The familiar energy hummed through his body as he wound up for the throw. I need to show enough of my power to satisfy Aizawa without revealing too much, he thought. 50% in my arm should be enough. With practiced precision, Izuku channeled one for all into his throwing arm while maintaining full cowling throughout the rest of his body. The technique had taken him years to master in his previous life. HAA, he shouted. releasing the ball with explosive force. The softball shot from his hand like a bullet, creating a sonic boom that knocked several of his classmates off balance. The ball disappeared into the sky. Aizawa stared at his device, then turned the screen toward the class. It displayed a single symbol, infinity. Infinity? Gasped Kaminari. That's impossible, Yaoyorozu whispered, Bakugo's face contorted with rage and disbelief. DQ. You. Impressive control. Aizawa interrupted. His eyes focused intently on Izuku. Most students with strength enhancement quirks destroy their bodies when they first use them. You seem to have mastered yours already. Izuku flexed his fingers, showing his uninjured hand. I've been practicing, sir. Years of practice in another lifetime. The rest of the tests proceeded as Izuku remembered. He deliberately placed first in each event, using exactly as much power as needed to secure the top position without seeming suspiciously overpowered. 50-meter dash, 2.05 seconds. Grip strength, 570 kilograms. Standing long jump, cleared the sandbox entirely. Repeated side steps, a blur of movement too fast to count. After the final test, Aizawa gathered the class to display their rankings. Izuku stood at the top of the list with Yaoyorozu, Todoroki, and Bakugo directly below him. Oh, and I was lying about expelling someone, Aizawa said flatly. That was a rational deception to bring out your best performances. Most of the class gasped or sighed with relief, but Yaoyorozu commented that it should have been obvious, just as she had before. As they headed back to change, Aizawa called out, Midoriya, stay behind. Izuku's classmates shot him curious glances as they walked ahead. Once they were alone, Aizawa's tired eyes bore into him with unexpected intensity. Your quirk. Explain it to me. Izuku had prepared for this. It's a power enhancement quirk, sir. It manifested very late, right before the entrance exam, actually. Most people with newly manifested quirks, especially powerful ones, can barely control them, Aizawa stated. You're using yours with the precision of a pro. Izuku maintained his composure. I've always analyzed heroes and quirks. When mine finally appeared, I already had theories about how to use it effectively. Aizawa studied him for a long moment. Your file says you were diagnosed as quirkless. The doctors were wrong, Izuku replied simply. After another long pause, Aizawa sighed. Whatever your story is, Midoriya, remember this. Yae isn't a place for secrets that endanger others. If there's something about your quirk that could pose a risk to your classmates, I expect to know about it. Izuku bowed respectfully. I understand, sir. As he walked back to the changing rooms, Izuku's mind raced. Aizawa is already suspicious. I need to be more careful. There's too much at stake to reveal my knowledge of the future. Later that day, as classes ended, Izuku stood at the school gates, looking back at the UA building with a mixture of determination and nostalgia. The first day, he murmured to himself, in my previous life, I barely passed Aizawa's test. Now I'm at the top of the class. He clenched his fist, green lightning briefly flickering between his fingers. Tomorrow, All Might will teach our first hero training session. The battle trial where I fought Kaken. His expression hardened. And then the USJ incident. The League of Villains' first attack. Izuku started walking home, his mind filled with plans and contingencies. This time I'll be ready. This time no one gets hurt. The morning sun streamed through UA's massive windows as Class 1A settled into their seats. Izuku's eyes drifted around the classroom, taking in the familiar faces. Faces that in another life had been etched with pain, grief, and in some cases, had disappeared altogether. I wonder what today's hero training will be like, Uraraka whispered excitedly from the desk beside him. Before Izuku could respond, the classroom door burst open with theatrical force. I am coming through the door like a normal person. All Might's massive frame filled the doorway, his perpetual smile radiating confidence as he strode into the classroom in his Silver Age costume. The sight of his mentor, healthy, powerful, alive, still made Izuku's heart clench with emotion. It's All Might, Kaminari exclaimed. That's his Silver Age costume. Kirishima added, practically bouncing in his seat. Izuku remained silent, a small smile playing at his lips. He'd forgotten how much All Might had enjoyed teaching before the weight of his fading powers and the rise of All for One had stolen that joy. Welcome to the most important class at UA High, All Might announced, striking a heroic pose. Think of it as Hero ING 101. Today's lesson will pull no punches. He held up a card with the word battle emblazoned across it. Battle training. The class erupted in excitement, especially Bakugo, whose face split into a predatory grin. And for that, you'll need these. All Might pressed a button, causing numbered compartments to slide out from the wall. Your hero costumes, made based on your quirk registrations and the requests you sent in before school started. Izuku's eyes lingered on the case marked with his number. His first costume had been a homemade jumpsuit designed to resemble All Might. This time, he'd submitted detailed specifications based on his final costume from his previous life: reinforced gloves, iron soles for his shoes, a utility belt, and a mask that covered only the upper half of his face. All Might pointed dramatically toward the exit. "Get changed and meet me at Training Ground Beta." Standing in the locker room, Izuku carefully pulled on his new costume. The familiar weight of the reinforced material felt right, like coming home. Unlike the amateur design from his first timeline, this costume was sleek, functional, and battle-ready from the start. "Whoa, Midoriya!" Kirishima exclaimed, glancing over. "Your costume looks so professional." "Thanks," Izuku replied, adjusting his gloves. "I spent a lot of time thinking about the design. Years of fighting and redesigns, actually." As they gathered at Training Ground Beta, Izuku couldn't help but notice the curious glances his classmates shot his way. His costume's advanced design stood out among the more experimental first attempts of his peers. "Great costumes, everyone," All Might bellowed as the class assembled. "Now, shall we begin, you zygotes?" All Might explained the exercise: indoor battle training, heroes versus villains, with the objective being either to capture the villains/heroes using the provided capture tape, or, for the heroes, to touch the nuclear weapon the villains were protecting. "Teams will be determined by drawing lots," All Might announced, holding up a box. Izuku kept his expression neutral as he drew his lot, already knowing the outcome. Sure enough, he was paired with Uraraka against Bakugo and Ida. "Deku!" Bakugo growled when the matchups were announced, his hands smoking with small explosions. Izuku met his glare steadily. "Looks like we're opponents, Kaken." As the first match was about to begin, Izuku pulled Uraraka aside. "Uraraka-san, I have a plan," he said, his voice low and confident. "Bakugo will come after me immediately. He's been waiting for a chance to fight me since the entrance exam. While he's focused on me, you should head straight for the weapon. Ida will be guarding it, but with your zero gravity, you'll have an advantage in maneuverability." Uraraka's eyes widened. "Are you sure? Bakugo seems really tough." Izuku smiled reassuringly. "Trust me, I can handle Bakugo better than anyone else could." Inside the building, Bakugo paced like a caged animal, his eyes burning with intensity. "That damn Deku!" he snarled. "I'm going to crush him and find out how he's been hiding his quirk all these years." Ida adjusted his helmet. "Bakugo-kun, we should formulate a strategy instead of a. You stay here and guard the weapon," Bakugo interrupted, already heading for the door. "I've got a score to settle." As Bakugo disappeared down the hallway, Ida sighed dramatically. "Such unheroic behavior. I shall perform my villainous role with utmost dedication." The battle trial began with a blaring siren. Izuku and Uraraka entered the building cautiously, though Izuku's movements betrayed none of the nervousness he'd shown in his first life. "Remember the plan," Izuku whispered. "Once Bakugo shows up, head for the upper floors." Uraraka nodded, determination etched on her face. They hadn't gone far when an explosion erupted from around the corner, followed by Bakugo lunging at Izuku with murder in his eyes. "Deku!" he roared, right arm drawn back for his signature right hook. In his previous life, this attack had caught Izuku by surprise. This time, he saw it coming a mile away. Izuku activated full cowling at 10%, green lightning crackling across his skin as he sidestepped the explosive punch with fluid grace. Bakugo's eyes widened in shock as his attack hit nothing but air. "Go, Uraraka-san!" Izuku called, never taking his eyes off Bakugo. As Uraraka sprinted toward the stairs, Bakugo recovered and spun around, his face contorted with rage. "Don't you dare look down on me, Deku!" he snarled, launching another explosion. Izuku dodged again, moving with a precision that made Bakugo's attacks seem almost slow. Each movement was calculated, each step placed with perfect awareness of the space around him. The result of years of combat experience that his body didn't remember but his mind certainly did. "I'm not looking down on you, Kaken," Izuku replied calmly. "I've always looked up to you, but that doesn't mean I'll let you win." Bakugo's fury intensified. He charged forward with a barrage of explosions, each more powerful than the last. But Izuku evaded them all, moving like water around stone, never where Bakugo expected him to be. "Stop running and fight me!" Bakugo screamed, frustration evident in every line of his body. Izuku's eyes narrowed. "If that's what you want." As Bakugo launched himself forward with an explosion from his palm, Izuku didn't dodge. Instead, he met the attack head-on, catching Bakugo's wrist and redirecting his momentum in a single fluid motion. Bakugo crashed into the wall, his shock visible even through his mask. "How? When did you?" Izuku stood ready, green lightning dancing across his form. "You're not the only one who's been working hard, Kaken." Bakugo's expression shifted from shock to murderous rage. He raised his right arm, aiming the large grenade-shaped gauntlet at Izuku. "My sweat is nitroglycerin," he growled, pulling a pin from the gauntlet. "These gauntlets have been storing it up. Now die, Deku." Izuku had been waiting for this moment. As the massive explosion rushed toward him, he channeled 10% of One for All into his arm and threw a precise Detroit Smash. Detroit Smash. The force of his punch created a powerful air pressure that split Bakugo's explosion down the middle, dispersing it harmlessly to either side. The shockwave rattled windows and sent debris flying, but left Izuku standing unscathed. In the monitoring room, All Might and the rest of Class 1A watched in stunned silence. Did he just nullify Bakugo's explosion with air pressure? Kirishima gasped. "Such precise control," Yaoyorozu murmured. "He used exactly enough force to counteract the blast without causing excessive damage to the building." All Might's permanent smile hid his surprise. "Young Midoriya, your mastery of One for All is progressing faster than I could have imagined." Back in the battle, Bakugo stood frozen, his eyes wide with disbelief. The smoke cleared to reveal Izuku, unharmed and ready to continue. "Impossible," Bakugo whispered. Taking advantage of Bakugo's momentary shock, Izuku flicked his finger, sending a concentrated Delaware Smash directly at Bakugo's solar plexus. Delaware Smash. The compressed air hit Bakugo like a battering ram, knocking him backward and forcing the air from his lungs. He crumpled to the ground, consciousness slipping away as he gasped for breath. "I'm sorry, Kaken," Izuku said quietly, looking down at his childhood friend. "But I can't lose here." Through his earpiece, Izuku heard Uraraka's voice. "Deku-kun, I've made it to the top floor, but Ida-kun is guarding the weapon really well." "I'm on my way," Izuku replied, securing the unconscious Bakugo with capture tape before activating full cowling and bounding up the stairs with superhuman speed. Reaching the top floor, Izuku assessed the situation in an instant. Ida was zooming around the room with his engine quirk, keeping the weapon out of Uraraka's reach despite her attempts to use her zero gravity. "Uraraka-san," Izuku called. "I'm going to create an opening." Without waiting for a response, Izuku leaped into the air, channeling power into his leg as he descended toward the floor. Manchester Smash. His foot slammed into the ground with controlled force, creating a shockwave that cracked the concrete floor. The impact caused the entire room to shake, throwing Ida off balance and sending chunks of debris floating into the air. "Now, Uraraka-san." Using her quirk on herself, Uraraka pushed off from a wall and floated rapidly toward the nuclear weapon, navigating through the floating debris. Ida tried to recover, but the unstable footing made his engine quirk more hindrance than help. "No, the weapon!" Ida cried as Uraraka's fingertips made contact with the papier-mâché bomb. "Hero team wins." All Might's voice boomed through their earpieces. Back in the monitoring room, the class erupted in excited chatter. "That was amazing. Did you see how Midoriya controlled the battlefield? Poor Bakugo never stood a chance." All Might's smile remained fixed, but his eyes were serious as he observed the footage. Young Midoriya fought like a seasoned pro. His movements, his strategy, his power control, everything was perfect. Too perfect for someone who just discovered their quirk. As the other matches proceeded, Izuku stood quietly, observing his classmates' quirks and fighting styles with analytical eyes. Each match unfolded much as it had in his previous life, Todoroki freezing an entire building, Yaoyorozu creating a defensive strategy, Tokoyami's dark shadow dominating in enclosed spaces. When all the matches were complete, All Might gathered the class for final comments. "The MVP of today's exercise is..." All Might paused dramatically. "Izuku Midoriya." The class murmured in agreement. Young Midoriya demonstrated perfect quirk control, tactical awareness, and teamwork, All Might explained. Not only did he neutralize the immediate threat, but he also created an opportunity for his partner to complete their objective. Izuku bowed slightly. "Thank you, All Might." As they headed back to change, Izuku felt Bakugo's burning gaze on his back. The explosive boy had regained consciousness but hadn't spoken a word since his defeat. "I'm sorry I had to do that to you, Kaken," Izuku thought. "But this time around, things have to be different. I can't afford to lose, not when I know what's coming." The day after the battle trial, Class 1A buzzed with excited discussion as they waited for homeroom to begin. Izuku sat quietly at his desk, aware of the occasional glances from his classmates, particularly Bakugo, whose usual aggression had been replaced by a smoldering silence. "Man, Midoriya, that fight yesterday was incredible," Kirishima exclaimed, leaning over his desk. "So manly. The way you countered Bakugo's explosion was like something a pro would do." Izuku smiled politely. "Thanks, Kirishima-kun. I just did what seemed right in the moment. What I learned from years of combat and training that never happened in this timeline." Aizawa slouched into the classroom, looking as tired as ever. "Settle down. Today we need to decide on a class representative. The room immediately erupted with volunteers, each student raising their hand and shouting their qualifications. Izuku watched with nostalgic amusement, knowing exactly how this would play out. Silence everyone. Ida's voice cut through the chaos. This is a job with serious responsibility where you must carry and properly represent the weight of everyone's hopes. It is not a job for just anyone who wants to do it. It requires the trust of those around you. Therefore, the most logical way to fill this position is democratically. We should hold an election to choose our leader. After the votes were tallied, the results appeared on the board. Izuku Midoriya, 4 votes. Momo Yaoyorozu, 3 votes. Izuku stood up, facing his classmates with a calm confidence that surprised even those who had voted for him. In his previous life, he'd been shocked and flustered by this outcome. Now he understood the responsibility all too well. "Thank you for your trust," he began, his voice steady. "But I believe Ida-kun would make a better class representative." The class murmured in surprise. During the incident at the school gates yesterday when the media broke in and everyone panicked, Ida-kun was the one who took charge and calmed everyone down, Izuku continued, remembering an event that technically hadn't happened yet in this timeline, but would occur during lunch. He has the composure and leadership qualities that would benefit our class. I'd like to nominate him instead. Ida's eyes widened behind his glasses. Midoriya-kun, I agree with Midoriya, Yaoyorozu interjected. Ida's quick thinking during the alarm was impressive. The rest of the class nodded in agreement, though several exchanged confused glances. There hadn't been any alarm yet today. Aizawa, who had been napping in his sleeping bag, cracked open an eye. "If that's what you want, fine. Ida is class rep, Yaoyorozu is deputy. Now let's move on." As predicted, during lunch that day, the school alarm blared through the cafeteria, sending students into a panic. Before chaos could fully take hold, Ida launched himself above the crowd, using his engine quirk to propel himself to the exit sign. "Everyone, calm down," he shouted. "It's just the media. There's no danger. This is UA. Let's behave in a way befitting this great institution." The stampeding students gradually settled and Izuku caught Uraraka's puzzled gaze. "How did you know Ida would do that?" she whispered. Izuku's smile was enigmatic. "Just a feeling I had about him." The next day, Aizawa announced their rescue training exercise at USJ, the unforeseen simulation joint. As the class boarded the bus, Izuku's mind raced with plans and contingencies. "The League of Villains will attack today. Kurogiri will scatter us throughout the facility. In my original timeline, I was sent to the flood zone with Tsuyu and Mineta. All Might will arrive late because he'll have used up too much of his time limit. Aizawa will be gravely injured by the Nomu." He clenched his fists, determination hardening his features. "Not this time." On the bus, the class chatted animatedly about their quirks and hero names. Azui turned to Izuku, tapping her chin thoughtfully. "Midoriya-chan, your quirk reminds me a lot of All Might's," she observed. Izuku maintained his composure, though his heart skipped a beat. "Really? I hadn't noticed," he replied with a practiced casual tone. "They're both super strength quirks, but you seem to have better control than he did early in his career," she continued. "I've seen old footage where All Might broke his surroundings just by moving. You don't do that." "It's different," Bakugo suddenly interrupted, his first words since the battle trial. "All Might doesn't have that weird lightning." Izuku met Bakugo's suspicious glare with a steady gaze. Every quirk is unique, even if they seem similar on the surface. Before the conversation could continue, they arrived at USJ. The massive domed facility loomed before them, and waiting at the entrance was the space hero 13. "Welcome everyone." 13 greeted them with a dramatic wave of their spacesuit-clad arms. "I built this facility to prepare you for different types of disasters. I call it the Unforeseen Simulation Joint." USJ, the class thought collectively, recognizing the reference to a certain American theme park. As 13 began explaining the facility's various disaster zones, Izuku subtly scanned the central plaza. Any minute now, a dark portal would appear, bringing with it the League of Villains and their first attempt to kill All Might. 13 finished their speech about how quirks could be used to help or harm, then bowed dramatically. "That is all. Thank you for listening." The class applauded enthusiastically. "Excellent," Aizawa said, stepping forward. "Now, first." He stopped abruptly as the lights throughout the facility flickered and died. In the central fountain plaza below, a swirling mass of dark purple mist materialized. "It's starting," Izuku thought, his muscles tensing in anticipation. "Stay together and don't move," Aizawa commanded, pulling his goggles over his eyes. 13, protect the students. From the purple mist emerged dozens of figures. The League of Villains, led by a pale man covered in disembodied hands and a towering, muscular creature with an exposed brain. Eraserhead and 13. "According to the schedule we stole, All Might should be here," the hand-covered villain, Shigaraki Tamura, rasped. "Where is he?" We've come all this way and brought so many playmates. All Might, the symbol of peace. I wonder if he'll come if we kill some kids. Ida, Izuku called out urgently, breaking protocol. You're the fastest one here. You need to run back to campus and alert the faculty. These are real villains. Aizawa glanced back, surprised by Izuku's quick assessment, but nodded in agreement. He's right. Go, Ida. Before Ida could respond, the mist villain, Kurogiri, expanded his warp gate toward the students. I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Kurogiri intoned, his yellow eyes gleaming within the mist. We are the League of Villains. Forgive our audacity, but today we've come to Yue High School, this bastion of heroism, to end the life of All Might, the symbol of peace. Izuku didn't hesitate. Activating full cowling at 20%, he launched himself at Kurogiri with explosive speed. Everyone, get back! He shouted, pulling his arm back for a strike. Kurogiri's yellow eyes widened in surprise at the sudden attack, but before Izuku could land a blow, the mist villain expanded his warp gate, enveloping Izuku and several other students. Izuku felt the now familiar sensation of falling through darkness. When light returned, he found himself plummeting toward the flood zone exactly as before, with Tsuyu and Mineta falling nearby. Perfect, he thought. Same as last time. Acting instantly, Izuku channeled One for All through his body and positioned himself for impact. Tsuyu-san, grab Mineta-kun and get ready, he called out. Tsuyu, quick to adapt, extended her tongue and wrapped it around the panicking Mineta. Izuku hit the water with calculated force, using a controlled Detroit Smash to create a massive whirlpool that sucked in the villains who had been waiting for them. Detroit Smash, the underwater shockwave sent villains flying out of the flood zone, creating a clear path for them. As they surfaced on a nearby boat, Mineta stared at Izuku with a mixture of fear and awe. How did you know what to do so quickly? No time to explain, Izuku replied, already scanning the facility. From their elevated position, he could see Aizawa fighting dozens of villains in the central plaza. We need to move fast. Aizawa-sensei can't keep fighting like that for long, especially against that creature with the exposed brain, the Nomu. Tsuyu tilted her head. How do you know what it's called, Karo? Izuku mentally cursed his slip. I overheard the mist villain. Listen, I have a plan. We need to get to the central plaza as quickly as possible. Without waiting for questions, Izuku picked up Mineta and nodded to Tsuyu. Can you get us to shore with your jumping ability? Tsuyu nodded, her expression serious despite her confusion at Izuku's inexplicable knowledge. With a powerful leap, Tsuyu carried them toward the shore, where they could see Aizawa fighting valiantly against the horde of villains. His capture weapon whipped through the air as he erased quirk after quirk, but Izuku knew it wouldn't be enough. Aizawa-sensei is strong, but he's not suited for prolonged combat against so many opponents, Izuku said grimly. And that Nomu creature, it's designed to kill All Might. Kill All Might? Mineta squeaked. That's impossible. Nothing's impossible, Izuku replied, his eyes fixed on the battle. We need to help Aizawa-sensei before. His words cut off as Shigaraki made his move, lunging at Aizawa with his disintegration quirk. Aizawa dodged and countered, but the moment he turned to face another villain, Shigaraki struck again, managing to grip Aizawa's elbow. The fabric of his costume, along with the skin beneath, began to crumble away. No. Izuku didn't hesitate. Tsuyu-san, take care of Mineta-kun. Before either could respond, Izuku activated full cowling at 50%, far more than he'd shown anyone at UA so far, and launched himself toward the plaza with explosive speed. Aizawa-sensei! Shigaraki turned at the shout, his red eyes widening behind the hand covering his face as a green blur rocketed toward him. Izuku's fist connected with the villain's chest, sending him flying backward into a fountain which shattered on impact. A student! Shigaraki wheezed, struggling to stand. You're fast, too fast for a first year. Aizawa stared at Izuku in shock, clutching his partially disintegrated elbow. Midoriya, I ordered you to stay back. I couldn't let you die, sensei, Izuku replied, never taking his eyes off Shigaraki and the Nomu which had yet to move from its position. Shigaraki tilted his head, observing Izuku with disturbing intensity. Interesting, but it doesn't matter how strong you are. Nomu, kill the brat. The hulking creature moved with unexpected speed, charging at Izuku with its massive arms outstretched. In his previous life, Izuku would have been helpless against such a monster. But now, with years of combat experience and perfect control of One for All, he was ready. As the Nomu reached him, Izuku channeled 50% of One for All into both arms and unleashed a double Detroit Smash directly into the creature's chest. Double Detroit Smash. The impact created a shockwave that cracked the ground beneath them and sent the Noma sliding backwards several meters, impressive considering the creature's shock absorption quirk. Shigaraki scratched his neck furiously. What? That's not possible. Nomu has shock absorption. Shock absorption, not shock nullification, Izuku replied, falling into a fighting stance. There's a limit to how much it can absorb. I remember All Might's exact words from last time. The knowledge of the future is my greatest weapon. The Noma recovered quickly and charged again, but this time, the doors of USJ burst open with explosive force. Have no fear. Why? Because I am here. All Might stood in the doorway, but unlike his usual smiling demeanor, his face was contorted with rage. His eyes took in the scene. Injured students, Aizawa bleeding on the ground, and Izuku facing off against a monster clearly designed to kill him. All Might. Shigaraki's excited voice had an unsettling childlike quality. You're finally here. We've been waiting. All Might didn't respond with words. In a flash of movement too fast for most to follow, he appeared beside Izuku and Aizawa. Young Midoriya, you've done well, he said, his voice tight with controlled fury. Now take Aizawa and retreat. This is my fight. Izuku shook his head. All Might, that creature, the Nomu, it has multiple quirks. Shock absorption and super regeneration at least. It was made to fight you. All Might's eyes widened slightly, but his determined expression didn't waver. All the more reason for you to get to safety. Let me help, Izuku insisted. Together, we can— Enough talk, Shigaraki screeched. Nomu, kill the symbol of peace. The Nomu lunged forward with terrifying speed, but All Might was faster, intercepting its attack with a powerful punch. The resulting shockwave sent nearby villains flying, but the Nomu itself barely moved. What? All Might gasped. Shock absorption. Like the kid said, Shigaraki cackled. Your punches are useless. All Might and the Nomu engaged in a blur of punches, each impact creating thunderous booms that echoed throughout USJ. But despite All Might's incredible strength, the Noma matched him blow for blow. He's still holding back, Izuku realized. He doesn't want to risk hurting anyone else. And he's already used up too much of his time limit today. Making a split-second decision, Izuku activated full cowling at maximum sustainable output 50% and launched himself into the fight. Young Midoriya, no! All Might shouted. Izuku ignored the warning, timing his attack to coincide with All Might's next punch. As the symbol of peace connected with the Nomo's face from one side, Izuku delivered a devastating kick to its ribcage from the other. All Might. It has shock absorption, but there's a limit, and it can't absorb attacks from multiple directions at once. All Might's eyes widened in understanding. Without missing a beat, he adjusted his strategy, coordinating his attacks with Izuku's in perfect sync. Together, they became a whirlwind of devastating blows. All Might would strike high, and Izuku would strike low. All Might would attack from the front, and Izuku would hit from behind. The Noma's shock absorption was formidable, but it couldn't handle two powerful opponents attacking from different angles simultaneously. Shigaraki scratched his neck frantically, drawing blood. This isn't fair. Noma was designed to fight All Might alone, not All Might and some cheating student. As the Noma began to slow, overwhelmed by the coordinated assault, All Might gave Izuku a quick nod. Understanding the signal, Izuku leaped high into the air, channeling one for all into his leg for a finishing blow. Manchester Smash. Simultaneously, All Might pulled back his fist for his signature move. Plus Ultra. Their combined attacks hit the Noma with such force that the creature was launched through the USJ dome, disappearing into the sky as nothing more than a distant speck. Shigaraki stood frozen, his hands dropping to his sides in disbelief. You cheated. Before he could continue, the doors of USJ burst open again as UA faculty members arrived, led by Ida. Principal Nizu, Present Mike, Midnight, Snipe, and Ectoplasm charged in, ready for battle. Seeing the reinforcements, Kurojairi quickly wrapped his mist around Shigaraki. Tamura Shigaraki, we must retreat. The mission has failed. I'll kill you, All Might, Shigaraki hissed as the mist enveloped him. And you too, green-haired brat. Next time, I'll kill you all. Snipe fired several shots into the mist, but Kurojairi had already transported them away, leaving only a few straggling villains to be easily captured by the arriving heroes. As the danger passed, All Might turned to Izuku with a mixture of pride and concern. Young Midoriya, that was incredibly reckless, he said, steam beginning to rise from his body as he reached his limit. But, thank you. Your strategy was brilliant. Izuku smiled, though his eyes remained serious. I couldn't let you fight alone, All Might. Not when I knew I could help. The faculty quickly secured the facility and gathered the scattered students. Medical teams arrived to treat the injured, with Aizawa and 13 requiring the most urgent care. As Izuku sat on a bench outside USJ, Recovery Girl examining his minor injuries, he felt a presence beside him. Looking up, he found Tsuyu watching him with her unblinking gaze. Midoriya-chan, she said quietly. You knew what was going to happen, didn't you? You knew about the Nomu, about its quirks. How? Izuku met her gaze steadily. I'm observant, Tsuyu-san. I notice details others might miss. That's not it, Karo. she persisted. It was like you'd seen it all before. Before Izuku could respond, Uraraka bounded over, her face tight with worry. Deku-kun, are you okay? I was so worried when we got separated. The distraction allowed Izuku to avoid Tsuyu's uncomfortably perceptive question. As his classmates gathered around, sharing their experiences from the attack, Izuku remained quiet, his mind already racing ahead to what came next. The sports festival, Stain, the training camp attack. Each disaster from my previous life is coming, one after another. But this time I'm ready. This time no one dies. Across the gathering, Aizawa watched Izuku from his bandaged face, his exposed eye narrowed in calculation. Beside him, All Might also observed his protege with a thoughtful expression. That boy, Aizawa murmured. He's hiding something. All Might didn't respond immediately, his sunken eyes fixed on Izuku. Perhaps. But whatever secrets young Midoriya keeps, I believe his heart is in the right place. Even if his knowledge shouldn't be possible, All Might added silently to himself. As the sun set on USJ, casting long shadows across the damaged facility, Izuku looked up at the broken dome where the Nomu had been launched through. A small, determined smile formed on his lips. One battle down, many more to go. But this time, the future is already changing. And that's a wrap on part 1 of What If Deku Was Reincarnated with his memories. This is just the beginning. ChronoCrew, the calm before the storm. You already know part 2's gonna go even harder. Drop your thoughts, theories, and your favorite moment in the comments. I read every single one. If you're new here, join the ChronoCrew by hitting that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you're first in line when part 2 drops. Don't forget 100 likes and I'll unleash the next chapter of this reincarnated Deku saga. Until next time, stay powerful, stay curious, and stay chrono. Catch y'all in the next one.